And we are recording with Mr. Adi Achint on Monday, October 20th, 2025 at 9:11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, you've been on here a couple times before. And for everybody listening, you guys can go to the description. You can find his podcast and his following. And, obviously, just as I always do when I talk to somebody else that has a podcast about just the what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why leave a steady paycheck? Some days you really start to question your sanity. But then on the flip side, there are days where it's, when it starts to work, it just feels like the coolest thing ever. But Adi, for everybody in my, audience who doesn't know you, please introduce yourself, man.
I'm just a simple citizen of India, nothing else,
Fair
who has
enough.
a
Yeah.
podcast of my own, and I talk a lot of
Yeah.
geopolitics.
Yeah. So I mean, it just seems even just in the last couple days, it's always more meaningful when like the special forces guys I've had on the shows, message me about stuff than it is, say, whatever headline grabbing stuff I see on Twitter or YouTube. And it seems to be they're all focused on what's going on between the US and Venezuela, which is fascinating. I know nothing about it. I mean, I could imagine I can take some broad strokes and say I like Trump, but I'm sure he's just acting insane and threatening nuclear war. I would imagine that's somewhere close to the mark without even checking it. But could you illuminate anything on that for me? I'm doing a show later about it. I know nothing about it.
So, so it's basically the game of oil. Remember, the entire structure of the world is based on two things: one, the flow of money, and two, oil. Right? It's how it flows. It's how it goes. Now, if you look at what's happening in the world as far as oil is concerned, dollar is again under focus because of BRICS and the weaponization of the dollar. So you can see that happening, and a lot of people are not very happy with the way America has gone ahead and weaponized the system, the payment system, and that becomes quite a challenge. So what we see is a separate structure of countries coming up. For example, the BRICS, who are talking about doing something different, right? What that is not really. Uh, I won't say it's fully ready as of now, but there's a lot of um, national currency trade which is taking place. For example, the trade between India and Russia is about 95% in ruble and rupees. So the trade between us and Dubai, UAE, is about 85% in rupee versus dirhams. So it's the non-dollar trade. Now that's one part of it. Second part of it is about the oil. Oil has been a major part of how the powers that be control the world. I mean, if you control the flow of energy, you control everything. What's happened in the past some time is that the flow of energy has gone out of their hand. Okay, so let's look at it how. You've got Russia, which has emerged as a huge energy partner in the world, which wasn't the case some time ago. The Middle East, OPEC, and all these guys, the Muslim countries in the Middle East, have kind of settled into a certain limit of production because they also know that the oil cannot last them forever, so they're trying to extend it. You've got new players which have come into the game which weren't there before. For example, India, one of the largest exporters of oil today in the world. We don't have any oil of our own. So, you know, you've got spoilers like that. You've got China, which has a huge strategic reserve, which has been releasing right now, which is creating a lot of disbalance in the price of oil. Venezuela has a lot of oil. So if US needs to control the price of oil flowing in the market, it needs to control and have a game at a huge supply of oil, right? Today, as we speak, the price of oil is about $61. Okay. When I talk about shale, which is the US based oil, it starts losing money at about 57, 58. So it's very close to the no profit game right now. Okay. $61.09 or something like that is the price today. So that becomes a huge challenge. Now that's because currently Russia is flooding the market all right. China has been putting out about a million barrels of oil a day into the market, driving the prices down. So that's why you see Donald Trump making statements. Oh, India is doing this. India is stopping oil from Russia. India is doing this, and the oil prices kind of spike up, which give some uh, cushion to the American oil industry. But that's not for long because if what if there are ghost fleets which are flying around the place. There are black ships which are flying around the place which sell oil to different countries at the middle of the ocean. So there's a lot which has changed. Now, if you need to be the largest holder of that reserve, you need to have these countries buy you. Now, if you remember, somewhere around 2022, if I'm not mistaken, 22, 23, Joe Biden found himself in a position where the prices of oil started rising in America itself and globally as well. He had to remove his strategic reserves and pump it into the market so that the prices kind of remain constant and he didn't face a lot of challenge back home. Now that's dangerous, right? You're taking out your strategic reserves. America can also produce this much amount of oil. Then they went down to Venezuela, did a deal with Maduro, and took out certain amount of oil with Chevron, right, to balance the market out. Trump wants to do the same thing, but he doesn't want to deal with Maduro. Nothing else. It's as simple as that. Apart from that, see, remember the American continent is part of something called the Monroe Doctrine, where US says, I will decide what happens in this region and I will not have any foreign power do anything in my region, right? Venezuela has a lot of Russian and Chinese influence. You've got Brazil, which is showing eyes to the US today on the back of the BRICS. You've got other small countries, Colombia for that matter. Today he sanctioned Colombia as well because of the flow of drugs and everything like that. So there's a lot of I'm not listening to the USA behavior happening in that region, which is creating this tension. So I guess he's picked out Maduro to kind of create an example and see what he can do about it. Because at the end of it, if he's able to hit him and get some semblance, a lot of other countries will fall into place and say, okay, we don't want to do this right now with the US. Apart from that, Venezuela, now see, if you look at, he's talking about drug trade from Venezuela and all that, that's all bump. Colombia is the biggest. Mexico is the biggest. Canada is the biggest. You know, people don't realize Canada is one of the biggest drug hubs in the world. It's terrible. The biggest drug hauls and the busts that have happened in US history have been on the Canadian border, and that too in the past 1 year.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so and that's these so-called Khalistanis from India, by the way, the so-called Sikhs that they've taken there for asylum to create all sorts of issues. So the game of oil is what is driving this move. Apart from any ideological sort of a structure, US needs to control the flow of oil. It needs to have that kind of you know hold within the oil game. And that's where you see Venezuela as well as Iran. These two are in focus. And of course, there was a focus on Russia, which didn't work out. The Ukraine war was supposed to kind of break down Russia so that the oil could be controlled over there. Russia has a huge amount of resources. And right now, the northern, the seas have not yet been explored. There's a lot of oil there as well. So if you control Russia, you control all that flow. And if you control the South America, you control that flow. And then you know what's happening in the Sahel region within Africa as well. It's again the game of oil. So you have Nigeria where there's terrorism and there's a whole lot which is there. They've got Niger, which has got uranium, gold, a whole lot of things there. On the eastern belt, you've got Mozambique, Kenya, and you've got Islamism running around in that area as well because there's a lot of resources there as well, there in that part of the world. So it's just the control of oil that matters. So the main game is that. Apart from that, yeah, there's politics. Oh, this guy is terrible. He's a dictator, and this and that and the other. I mean, there are worse dictators than him in the world. Um, I can name 10 of them right now off the cuff.
Yeah,
But
the US has no problem working with dictators. That's
yeah,
yeah, that when they tag that on, that's always kind of an eye roller. You're like, yeah, shut up. The first thing I was going to say was it does seem to be, if you just look at, just zoom out to the 100,000 mile view, say in general, if there's a moving from a post-Cold War monopolar superpower to bi or tripolar, or even beyond that, multipolar. What that essentially means is so then they each really tighten the grip on their aspects as opposed to one empire kind of wrapping around the globe, which we saw just, I mean, really post World
About
War
20
II
years.
USA, and then especially after the Cold War, there was no competitor. If you were to look at these things sort of, I don't know if the right word, balkanizing back to their respective, regions of the globe, that would immediately also mean if you're no longer extended around the planet, what you would do is tighten your grip around what you do have in your backyard, and the first thing that would lead you to is Monroe Doctrine.
That's what's Canada, that's what's Greenland.
Yeah, and it kind of all falls into place in terms of I don't know, like a time lapse of, when they say like the movement of glaciers over, 100 million years. It's not, it's very slow and monolithic, and it's like turning a cruise ship. What did you say earlier about ghost fleets and black ships? What is that? That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so you've got these fleets, you've got these ships running around the world which are selling oil of countries which are sanctioned. These transfers take place in the middle of the ocean. Two ships just, sail along each other, and by some magic, something happens. The oil goes from one to the other and it flies off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there
That's
are loads of countries that are buying it. Let me assure you, US is also buying oil like that.
yeah.
US is probably buying Russian oil like that. We were supplying, so the US is in August, if I remember, get my figures correct, was the fourth largest of buyer of diesel from India.
Which really starts to give credence to the idea that more so than more so than a slang term, it's like a lot of this really is theater. Because like the real hardcore, not all of it, but the real hardcore is what's extraction of resources and energy. The dollar is just a token for energy. It's the petrodollar. That's all it really is. And when it's like, yeah, you can still go buy all this stuff on the black market, including us. It's almost the idea of 10, 15 years ago in the US, like,
So,
we
who buys 20% of their oil from us?
Pakistan,
No,
China.
Ukraine.
Yeah, it's like
So, Ukraine pays us to buy Russian oil
that's what
to
I
use
mean.
tanks against Russia.
That's what I mean. Is like, yeah, we're almost trying to like when you're a kid. I don't know if you ever did this, and you try to like spread the food around your plate so you don't have to finish like vegetables. It's almost like we're trying to all lie to ourselves that we're not a hyper-connected global
That's the
civilization.
problem. So that's the main problem. That's the lack of understanding on Trump's part, where he's not wanting to accept the fact that um, this is happening,
Yeah,
right? And he wants to switch the world back to where he was the big boy,
yeah,
which is not going to happen. Now, he had an opportunity to work with these people and sustain his power. But what he did was basically fought with everyone. So today, when he wants some help from people, everybody's looking and saying, why?
yeah.
So you're talking to a person from a country who's sanctioned right now. We've got 50% tariffs. We've got various different kind of curbs. We ordered jet engines from the GE, which have been delayed for the past 2 years. Our We ordered Apache helicopters, which were delayed for 2 years. So we are a sanctioned country. India is a sanctioned country today.
From the US.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So we exported about 30% of our gems and jewelry and diamonds and stuff like that to the US. Today, that's in lingo. 30% of our textiles used to go to US. That's in limbo. Pharmaceuticals, he threatened tariffs. IT, he threatened tariffs. These are the big industries of India. Auto components, he threatened tariffs. Engineering tools, he's actually implied tariffs. So we faced a shortfall of about 4% in our GDP. We've, by the way, we diversified in the past 2 months to a point. Our exports have actually grown by 6.5% instead of coming down. So we played our cards well. That's a different story. But the intent was to damage what was here because we didn't listen to what the Americans wanted us to do. They wanted us to fall in line and do what they said. We said no, that's not going to happen. Okay, we put tariffs on you. Fantastic, great, cheers. Not a problem at all. Because the tariffs actually impact us, but they impact you more. Because, at the American receiving level, now there's a report from Axios which came out yesterday, which talks about 70% of the tariffs being paid by the Americans itself, which is totaling to an enormous figure of $1.2 trillion. So, it's a policy that he wanted to create to kind of get some control and get people behind him and stuff like that. It with countries like India, with countries like China, with economies which have a lot of their own potential, nobody will agree. You probably can get a prime minister of Pakistan to come and do what he did in Egypt and kind of sing a praise to Trump and you're the best person, Nobel Peace Prize, blah blah blah. But that guy needs money. He needs money for his daily survival. I mean, he'll die otherwise. Plus, he bribed Trump. That's a different story altogether.
It is when you look, I mean, and what my whatever kind of on shaky ground with my understanding of this is, like post World War II America, the prime time golden age is it existed, but we have to understand what it was. It was, and it's not, taking away from the sacrifice and deaths of millions of people. But I mean, let's just be very honest with it is we are geographically isolated. We were not physically destroyed like all of Europe. I mean, physically, not they're in debt. I mean, the buildings are just gone. And we came out on top, and most of the world was eviscerated, and really the only thing left was us and the Soviet Union, and they were on the other side of the world. And so not only did we not get physically destroyed, we also had a monopoly on, well, what would a power do after the war? You set things up to be favorable to you. So the growth we had, and the fact was it Bretton Woods or whatever, like most countries had to basically take out loans in US dollars or exchange the gold window in I'm not quite confident in my knowledge on this. What we had was it was real, but it wasn't, that's not a natural phenomena. It was it's like being born into having a trust fund of $1 million. It's like that money is real, but your kid and your kid's kid, they're going to look back and go, well, how come, where's my $1 million? And it's like, that's not the norm. What we had was momentum. It's just what it is. It's a post-war boom when it's just what it is. That has been fading since then. And, we tried to keep it going. And we, just, the Dulles brothers and just knocking over countries as much as we could. And as it kept going, that sort of momentum has been waning. And it's because it's returning, and it's very, broad strokes here. It's returning to some sort of homeostasis, or at least a degree of balance. But what happened after World War II is that was so heavily in our favor that the decades following it, we kind of looked, just as an Americans, we kind of looked back, like, yeah, that was the golden years when it was so awesome. It's like, yeah, but that was kind of the stars aligning. That doesn't always happen. And I think to agree with you, it seems like Trump is trying to put us back to that spot, and it's like that might not necessarily be possible.
I'll kind of bust a little bubble if you don't mind.
Sure, no, dude, I don't care.
Was it really comfortable during post-war times? Look at the 60s.
Oh yeah, and even that is just like that's like what I've, through propaganda and I was born in
Right.
1990. What the hell do I know?
Yeah, look at the 60s, the race riots. They were
Yeah.
terrible,
Yeah. I mean, the
right?
National Guard
Thousands.
shooting at students, like Vietnam,
Right.
drafting people are like, what is, yeah.
One of the bloodiest wars of America. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Look at the 80s, the
Yeah.
bust that came across, the economic bust that came across. You see the way things actually went across. It wasn't a peaceful time. It wasn't a good time.
Yeah.
This is what has been written in contemporary books that, oh, there was a
So
unipolar
even
movement and
that
everything.
is like, no, it's the memory you're having
Yeah,
probably
it's not the
wasn't based
reality.
in reality. Some
No,
people did
it's not.
really well. Some people had a big house.
That's what. So the
Yeah.
books are written by people who are funded by those some people.
Yeah.
All right.
Or their
So
subjective experience was that. It was some dude that just got a killer job. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, but that
there was something called the American dream. There's nothing
sure.
to, you could get into America, you could kind of make a lot of money without this thing. All you had to do was hard work and you would make money. That's not a, a potential, or that's not a stability structure. That's an opportunity structure. There's a huge difference in the two. There was never stability if everybody thinks like that. It was always unstable. You look at the 60s, you look at the 70s, you look at the 80s when the world came to an end three times. 84 Able Archer incident and then
Yeah.
multiple other things. The only hubris time which I actually see is the 1990s, 89 onwards till about, I'd say about
9/11.
99. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now 9/11 was again hubris. Let me just say this. I'll tell you some stuff about 9/11 which will kind of shock you.
Yeah, I don't care.
Uh, but when you see the Second World War itself, a lot of people don't understand who really fought the Second World War.
Russia.
One, India.
Yeah.
People don't know how many soldiers from India were there in the Second World War. It's about 2.7 million,
Yeah,
right?
that's insane.
That's an insane amount of number. We were the first people to beat back the it was the Indian troops that beat back the Germans in the deserts of Libya.
Oh,
It was the Indians who gave the first defeat to the Japanese in the Battle of Kohima, which is in India. It was Indian troops, right? Obviously led by Western,
right.
within the Western formations and stuff, but it was actually the Indian troops fighting that. A lot of this history is not known. What came out post the 90s was a moment where there was no challenger. And that led to a lot of mistakes. Now, in 2001, the debt of America was barely anything, some 3, 4, 5 trillion dollars or $6 trillion or something. But then the forever wars has brought you to a point where you're at $37 trillion today.
Yeah.
Because that was hubris, right?
Yeah.
You look at uh, 9/11 as an incident. Do you know the first nephew of Mullah Omar, the so-called biggest terrorist in the world after Osama bin Laden, was in America in February, March 2001, meeting with CIA, meeting with White House officials, meeting with Defense Department officials. There were back channels, negotiations to ensure that there's a pipeline that could be drawn through Afghanistan from Turkmenistan, get it into Pakistan, and the gas could be taken out from there. 1.9 million metric tons of gas. That's even on the table today, right now, as we speak, because that pipeline has never got built. Those were the negotiations, and there are CIA notes, there are State Department notes where they have said that this is more critical. This, by the way, is after the embassy bombings in Tanzania and Kenya, which killed Americans. This, by the way, is after the USS Cole bombings,
Yeah.
which killed Americans. This, by the way, is after the 93 World Trade Center bombings. So there was a certain amount of hubris that nobody can hurt us,
Yeah.
right? So I don't buy into all the conspiracy. I think it was a state of mind.
Yeah.
And that's what, when it came and hit, everything changed because suddenly America realized, shit, we have challengers in the world. And then lists were drawn up. Who are the challengers in the world? So if you remember the famous statement by George Bush, who said, either you're with
You're
us or
with us
you're
or
against,
against us. Yeah.
right? So people who went against, then those lists were made. Okay, these are against, and these guys need to be taken out. So it was 7 countries in 7 years.
Hmm.
General Mark Clark,
Yep.
General Clark, right? I
Uh,
forget his first name.
Wesley.
Wesley Clark.
Yeah.
Now that's not an out of the situation sort of a arrangement if you actually see what happened,
Arab Spring too. You start to look at that, you're like,
right? So
oh,
you're yeah, but that was supposed to be done in 7 years. It kept getting delayed because you got stuck in Afghanistan, got stuck in Iraq, you got stuck, so forever was country building. We will build democracies around. The smarter thing for America would have been go inside, take out the damn Taliban, take out this guy, and get out.
yeah,
The smartest thing for America would have been in Iraq. You wanted to take out Saddam Hussein, go in, take him out, and out.
yeah.
There you go. You can't be building countries, and that's where the problem happens. So these forever wars basically drained this thing, which is again what is happening right now with Ukraine. Oh, we need to have a viable Ukraine. Why is it?
Why?
Why?
Well, then you start to look at the minerals and the rare earth metals there, and you go,
That's the thing.
there's the
That's the thing.
there's they're saying it out loud.
So
I
that's
mean,
what is the difference between India and US today. Because US is more interested in the rare earth minerals within Pakistan rather than continuing a geostrategic relationship, which is as important as anything else. A lot of people don't understand the uh, the amount of rare earths which are there in India. We're the third largest holder of rare earth in the world.
really?
But because you can go into side Pakistan, give the generals $10 here, $5 there, this, that, you can buy off Pakistan. So it's easy working with Pakistan then rather than a country with morals,
And
right?
you have to question, like, you know, when you look at what the United States, it's a big new Brzezinski, right, with the Mujahideen in the 70s and 80s, right, to turn it into a Russian Vietnam, get them, bogged down in a quagmire that they couldn't win, just expend resources. I mean, is it that how do you go from that to nation building and occupying in Afghanistan and Iraq
The same country.
and yet how do you and so it's like there's no good answer. Either it's
It's hubris.
hubris,
It's
yeah,
hubris.
it's either
It's
hubris
hubris.
or hubris is the best answer. It's like or it's willful maliciousness to get your trillions of dollars at the out of the blood of whoever. They're both horrible answers.
If you want to put it like that, then it's the MIC,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Who needs a war to fund itself to keep itself going. It's simple as that. And
And that doesn't even make sense because we didn't even take the oil from the middle, unless we did it through, I don't know, shell corporations. But it's like
yeah,
it didn't even seem like a war of empire because you're supposed to, if you're gonna be the evil empire and go knock over a country, at least take their shit. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's what you
that's
would
the
do.
logical thing to do. You
It's
didn't do that.
they didn't even do that. Like,
So why wasn't the pipeline built for 20 years from Tajikistan, which Trump is trying to do today?
which then would imply hubris,
It's
right?
just stupidity, honestly. I mean,
It's a mixture, I think. It's the MIC and then hubris.
yeah, see this. Okay, how this is how it works. This is an influence game. Okay, so if you want to know why any politician is saying anything, please go and see who funds him.
Yeah. APAC.
APAC, the MIC. Look at who are the people in power today, or look at who were the people in power in the previous administration and see what were their previous appointments. For example, the Bush administration was oil, 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 top to bottom. Everyone was connected to oil. Bush himself had family links to the Bin Laden family.
Yeah, Bandar Bush, right? Wasn't that the guy's nickname?
Yeah. Condoleezza Rice, oil. Dick Cheney, oil. Scooter
Halliburton,
Libby, oil.
KBR. Yeah.
Everybody was oil. So that's why they were more interested in
But they didn't
oil.
even take the oil.
It's not that you control it for a certain amount of time and you get what you want at that time.
I guess that's
And
yeah.
so it's not a long-term goal. Now, what they would have dreamt of would be, oh, Iraq will become this liberal democracy and we'll be pumping oil. And that's what the picture was given to the Americans. Oh, we are doing elections in Iraq. We are doing elections in Afghanistan. When you were doing elections in Afghanistan, there are 32 odd districts, which are 32 divisions in Afghanistan, geographical. 14 of them were being ruled by the Taliban. What is the election you're doing? And so it's not as simple as clear as day. It was a policy of continuance. It was a policy of constants, if I may. Oh, it's happening. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. That's it. And nobody wants to pull the plug because you saw the guy who pulled the plug got the blame for it.
Yeah.
So who does that? Nobody does. And then when you gotta get re-elected, right? So what do? You go back to the same people and say, hey, listen, I need some donations. So he says, okay, yeah, you need donations. Don't finish that war. I say, okay, fine, fair enough. Let it be. So that's how it goes. It's hubris combined with a lot of miscalculations and money, and that's all come to a head today.
I think
Where
it, I think it was the author Russ Baker, who wrote, I think, Family of Secrets about the Bushes. Or
there's another book called The Forbidden Truth. You should read that.
okay. But Russ Baker's quote is it's uh it's a combination of incompetence and ruthlessness.
Mhm.
So the lack of a soul, the psychopathic, they don't care, they'll kill everyone, combined with, and they're also not that good at it. It'd be
They
one thing
didn't
if you
kill
were
everyone.
evil.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Either you kill everyone and be done with it. You don't even do that.
Yeah.
When you send your troops inside, you're doing search and destroy operations. You need to do dominating operations where you basically clear an area and you freaking dominate that place after that. How is it that somebody's entering into that place
Yeah.
post that?
Yeah.
So
It's
that's it's weird. And then you're left to these green zones within countries. You're just operating out of that. It
which
doesn't
then
make sense.
well, and then it starts to seem like that was always the goal is to
Yeah,
have a what is 850,
constant.
870 base. There's a great book called Base Nation by David Vine talking about
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah, I've read
the
that.
yeah. I've had him on my show. I love that book, and it's like then it starts to make sense of like oh that's
So this is happening right now as well. There are there
of
are two
course of
there are two
course
more bases coming up right now around India.
U.S. bases.
Yeah, yeah. One is
It's
in Pakistan and one is
I mean
in Bangladesh, Myanmar.
if you really wanted to avenge if I was 11 years old, I remember vaguely the day of 9/11. If I recall that evening, they were talking about bin Laden. I don't know if,
Everyone knew who did it.
okay,
Everyone.
so my point is this. If you saw that happening, the move right there would
Ignore.
say, would, if I was the president on that day, I would warn Russia, I would warn China and say, we're not starting a war with you. And I would put a couple thermonuclear warheads right in that country. Everyone can hate me to the day I die, but I would finish it in 30 minutes. I'd put a couple
Do you
med
know something? Do you know something? The Russians gave America basing rights in the in Central
yeah,
Asia.
yeah,
They used to share airspace. They said,
yeah.
whatever you need.
Yeah, no, Putin came out and was like, "Hey, go fuck them up,"
Yeah.
and that's what I would have done. Put
After
a
that,
couple megatons.
when
Everyone
the
listen to
ISAF
me.
came in,
Yeah,
oh, see, there are easy ways of doing this. I'll tell you honestly, the core of the issue was never dealt with. And I'm not saying this because I'm an Indian. If somebody hears this, oh, he's an Indian, he hates Pakistanis. But that's people don't realize that's
they were.
every
Yeah,
terror attack in this world has traced it back to that country.
and protection
That's
from
not
Pac
me saying it.
ISI. Yeah, that's where we killed Bin Laden.
No,
Abbottabad.
that's not me saying. That's Donald Trump who said it.
I know. It's also I don't care who said it. It's objective reality. It's where we killed
Right.
the guy. How close is it to the ISI headquarters? Like,
Not ISI headquarters. It was their military officers academy or West Point equivalent. If you stood on Bin Laden's roof, you could see the West Point
yeah,
gate. I know where his house is. I can point it out on a map. You could see the West Point gate. Tell me that guy was not kept there.
exactly. It's
So, you but Pakistan is a useful idiot. So you use
Oh,
it,
sure.
you know,
You brought up a good point about it's like, or we didn't even take the oil, which I mean, we're not for any of this, but just if we're playing this out, it's like if you're gonna go be the evil empire, you go kill everyone and go take everything,
be
right?
the evil empire.
Yeah, it's like like the banana wars in South America. Like call it whatever you want, but we want the bananas, we want the rubber trees, whatever.
That was focused, and you got what you wanted to in most of the countries.
Yeah,
So that fair enough, understandable. But then see the way everything works. I mean, if you look at Iran today, Iran is a country. Everybody hates the Ayatollah Khomeini and everything, right? Do you know where he was before he came into Iran? In France.
I didn't know that.
He was in France. France. He was in. Why wasn't he taken out there?
Yeah. What about the in Malaysia in 2000
Yeah.
where
Same.
there was like 18 intelligence agencies, US and our allies, all surveilling the high level meeting between all the Al Qaeda cell, I think like the Hamburg cell, they were all there. And now, I mean, legitimately, I think it was like 10 international spy agencies were there. Whatever, the laser sonar where you bounce it off the windows. I'm sure we had bugs everywhere a year before 9/11. Why didn't you?
Take him out.
So then you start to wonder, you go, oh, it's if you're not going to take the oil, you made a good point. So long as you're on, there is a gray. It's not all black and white. It's you can if you're on top of the oil, then I guess China and Russia can't take it. So it's
Yeah, but
kind of
that's the
it's
thing. That's the thing. You know, a lot of see that kind of control when you need to have, if you want to have, then you need to have the kind of economy to sit in all these places and control stuff,
yeah.
which is where there were gaps. And when there are gaps, there are opportunities for other people, and everybody exploits it. I mean, India was put into this corner for Russian oil. Now, picture this: we became a net importer of oil of any oil from this thing today to the second largest exporter of oil. I mean, we export more oil than Saudi Arabia. So we've got more refining capacity in India. We refine 5.9 million barrels of oil a day. Okay. That's the entire Gulf put together. So then there are opportunities for other countries when there are gaps, right? And countries will exploit that. And when you exploit that opportunity, you also get a certain amount of leverage. And then what you're seeing today, while India not bending down, is the use of that leverage. We know we have that leverage. He asked the Europeans to sanction us. The Europeans said, no, are you crazy? We'll die in this winter. So you create leverage, and that leverage helps you survive, and leverage helps you negotiate. That's exactly where we are today.
I've often wondered if, it's still largely, I could be completely wrong. You would know, actually, you would know a lot better than me, but air superiority that dominates, right? I mean, now I guess you could say the high ground is space, but roughly air superiority, right? Korea, Vietnam, B-52s against farmers. We obviously don't export the F-22, but we export kind of everything under that, including the F-35 down to whatever. If you had to have leverage, that's what I would do is I would export fighter jets and that were better than anything that anybody else could design and research and build themselves. Export them, give it to your allies, and then have some sort of backdoor switch in case your allies were never your allies. And that seems to be a way you could
That's
extend
reality.
some sort of
That
leverage.
happens. That happens.
Yeah, that's
But
what I
then people don't buy American platforms. That's the
yeah.
reason why.
Yeah. That's the thing is it's like a 0 day exploit. Like
Today,
you
it
could only
is.
use it
See,
once.
the problem in America today, and the biggest problem in America that people don't understand is that every 4 years, the policy cannot change. There has to be consistency in thought, consistency in strategy, consistency in partners, consistency in allies. Trump can't go after the best of his allies and the best of his partners in the world and leave his enemies alone. He's singing songs with Putin and Xi Jinping, but
Yeah.
he's sanctioning India and the Europeans. Now that's stupid. When you actually go ahead to someone, these countries will swing, and that's exactly what India did. All Mr. Modi did was went to China and clicked a couple of photographs, which created havoc within the American foreign establishment. What the fuck just happened? And everybody's running, oh, no, 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 stop this. This is crazy. Yo, bloody stop it, stop it. And you saw after that, Trump kind of mellowed down because everybody told him, listen, what are you doing? We can't deal with Russia or China independently. You've got Russia, China, and India together. Are you crazy? So, that's the hubris and the missed opportunities. But, the biggest point I'll tell you is about the factor of trust. Today, the US has lost a lot of trust within uh, the world. Why? Because of this ever changing foreign policy. You can't have a foreign policy going India's, or for that matter, any country. I mean, look at what happened in the Middle East. Qatar has the biggest American base in the world and got bombed.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Oh, no, President Trump was very upset with Netanyahu. Bullshit.
No, that was allowed. That was tit for tat.
America controls the entire airspace. The British did the refueling for them. What are you talking about? Oh. This is, and what happens is countries will tolerate this, but then speak about it amongst themselves that look at this nonsense. And today the Middle East is in such a funny position that they get hammered from the terrorists and from the so-called allies. And they're like, what are we supposed to do here? So then they run to China. And then the Americans don't like that they run to China. Then they put, oh no, this guy needs to go, and their color revolutions and this and that and all that nonsense. So that's not a consistent policy. So inconsistency of this every 4 years, ever changing sort of a thing will create challenges for America going forward.
It makes me think of when I was in college, my first 2 years, I was at a small college, Valdosta State University, probably like 10,000 people. And I was in a fraternity my freshman and sophomore year. And there was only like five fraternities. And it was, I don't know, roughly maybe 5% of the student population, right? And it's so you have campus, you have all the frat houses right next to it. And then like 2 miles away, you had all the bars. So, they kind of had a monopoly on it, was the closest place to party. And then also all the people at the bars were all fraternity members, bartenders, bouncers. It was almost like a microcosm of like the military industrial complex, or like a deep state. You could see it was just everything was controlled by them. And there were rivalries between the fraternities and shit. But every once in a while, you'd get a peek behind the curtain and you'd see them all kind of come together because, I don't know, the school itself was threatening to remove them because, whatever, they're having huge parties. And you could see these fraternities, which the younger and dumber guys like me, like the useful idiots, oh, we thought they were actually our rivals. But then you would see the presidents of all these schools talking, or even sometimes we would be told in like a chapter meeting, it'd be like, all right, stop fucking with them. Stop fucking with them. We all got to come together because the student union's trying to take away the monopoly we have. And we're 5% of the population and we get like 90% of the girls at our parties. It is in all of our interest to come together and stop bickering. And then you would see it for what it was. And it was like the naked, raw power structure of being on the inside and having access to, it wasn't oil and money, but it was women and alcohol, right? And it was, but that essentially was what ran that was the petrodollar. And you would see that. And then, the tensions between the school and them would kind of settle down, and then the rivalries would kind of continue, and you'd really start to see it all. You're like, oh, that's theater. But when push comes to shove, all the presidents come together and they're like, they're trying to take away the monopoly we have. And man, that's kind of what this all feels like.
Yeah.
They're all coming together and they're like, listen, hey, we're on paper, I'm gonna say you guys are sanctioned, but there's gonna be some black ships out there and you guys can't directly buy it from them, but what you can do is buy their food and then they'll sell your food to them and then they'll pay you, and that way you can get the Russian oil, even though you're fighting them right now.
So Iran is sanctioned, right?
Yeah.
You know, India buys Iranian oil.
Yeah, I mean,
I need it, I'll buy it. You do what you want to keep sanctioning people. What am I supposed to do?
yeah.
I mean, if you don't think I'm going to care about my people and I'm going to care about American interests first, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's the realism which is missing in the whole establishment in America today. There's a certain sense of so the prior. I mean, if you look at it, oh, this guy has human rights issues. When we had the Taliban recently visiting India, oh, we were given lectures. Oh, these guys have human rights, women's rights. How can you deal with them and this and that? Excuse me, how can you deal with them? What do you mean? Trump just met Jolani, who is responsible for the deaths of Americans inside what do you call inside Syria, and called him a stand-up guy and shit like that. He's a young guy with a lot of potential. He has a bad history. That's what Trump said. So when India sits down with Afghanistan, it's morality, but it's not. So that's the realism which is missing. So we get articles in the New York Times, we get articles in the Wall Street Journal, and I have articles to show that Trump's genius in Syria by meeting Jalani and India's stupidity in meeting the Taliban. Hello.
So then it's like now it's like really bringing home when you're in a position, let's just say me or you, just a dude, and you're learning about all this. It does, and you can't give into it, but it does instill a feeling of helplessness or what's the point? And you really do start to you start to establish your own Monroe Doctrine where you're like, I'm just going to control what's in my life. I'm going to try to lose some weight.
Oh,
I'm going to try to get more sleep. I'm going to try to drink more water. And if
that's
I can,
fine. I mean, that's like being in a rabbit's hole. I'm gonna, just put that across because
yeah,
today the world is in a position that if the world's citizens don't stand up and take look at what's happening, we're all gonna be in shit. People don't understand the severity of nuclear wars. Everybody talk, oh, we'll win a nuke.
no, you will
You
not. No,
will win
no
a nuke?
one.
Okay, fantastic. Let me see that happening.
Yeah.
I've got a neighbor here. By the way, look at India. Okay, let me, why are we so serious about geopolitics and national security and all that? Why are there so many YouTube channels in India talking about all this stuff? Is because look at us where we
Yeah.
sit. We've
Yeah.
got a freaking terrorist neighbor who's nuclear, and we got freaking China who wants to eat us alive because we are his only competition in Asia, who's also nuclear.
Yeah.
We got two nuclear powers right next to us on our borders. And one, which is Pakistan, every time something happens, he pulls out his nukes and say, I'm going to nuke you. Yeah, fine, bring it on. So, the reality of this game is not understood by the people in America because they are shielded by it with these two big oceans.
Which
But the
won't help
point
them
is,
in a nuclear war.
it won't, and that's coming home today,
Yeah.
right? Because till now that thing was not impacting the lives of people. Now it's coming home. Why? Because you've got Russian submarines outside New York. They've
Hmm.
been photographed outside Manhattan, and been photographed outside California.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
So people are saying, what the hell is this? Now, what the hell is this? Is that, when you kind of take too many issues with too many people at the same time, then there is that a couple of guys who will sneak in and kind of give you a shock.
Yeah.
But, the solution to that was a very simple cooperative approach, which is what Trump actually tried to do in the first term. But here, I guess, and this is just, the way I look at it, maybe wrong, I don't know. The bullet that went through his ear kind of changed everything. I call him Trump before the shooting and Trump after the shooting. I think after the shooting, he was given a message that, dude, you can't, don't think you can change everything.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where you find him doing a lot of the similar things as the previous guys. He kind of mellowed down into it. And yeah, I mean, he's making his money. He's made $9 billion since he became the president. So that's good.
It's, I mean, we spent 45 years, wargaming how to win a nuclear war, and you can't. I mean, yeah, Abel Archer, there's a great book called 1983. Um, you can't. There is no winning. There's
Can't.
absolutely Eisenhower, I think his quote was, "Men will go mad." He's like, "This isn't a normal war." Within a couple of minutes, I think he had some quote where he was like, human civilization and all the accoutrements of it that have been built up so painstakingly over the millennia will be vanished in a matter of seconds. Like there's no, and then with ICBMs, which aren't new, they've been around since the 50s. Like they've gotten better. There is no winning. And yeah, even right when the war in Ukraine started, you had people in America being like, "Let's do a preemptive nuke on Russia and decapitate them." And it's like, if a nuclear war was winnable, the hubris of the U.S. would have done it in the 50s. It's
So there's
not.
this book. There's this book
Everyone's
that
dead.
there's this book by Annie Jacobson. I
Yeah,
don't
I've
know if
read
you.
that. Yeah.
She talks about it pretty openly. Within the first 72 minutes, there will be the nuclear button which is pushed. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
And so, when that is the reality, there's a certain amount of adjustment that needs to be done within the game. I mean, people don't understand. India has enough nuclear weapons to blow the world up. Pakistan has enough nuclear weapons to blow the world up. The world. Now, you, sir, are sitting somewhere in, United States, happy and safe in your house, little realizing there's a mad maniac called Asim Munir, who's, by the way, Trump's favorite field marshal, who's a jihadi. He's as bad as Osama bin Laden, by the way, in control of 170 nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
That's not a peaceful thought that people should have. And I'm not just singling out Pakistan. There are a lot many more such people with worse weapons, chemical, biological, a whole lot of crap. And see the way things have happened. See how COVID took place. See all this stuff. So you realize that whole party is over.
And it just, I guess, it kind of seems like the inevitable answer is like, it's almost poetic. We all have to coexist or no one will exist.
Yep.
It is kind of, for most of human history, you could kill a bunch of people and get away with it. Bronze
You can
Age
still do
through,
that.
you can
No,
still
you can
do it.
still, yeah, you
But
can
what I
still do
mean
it.
is there's a threshold, there's a ceiling
No,
you hit in which you
no,
die.
no, no. People keep cribbing about Israel, right? Oh, Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. Really? Okay, fantastic. What did the coalition forces do in Raqqa,
Oh yeah.
in in Iraq, in Syria? Not during the invasions, the wars against the ISIS.
Yeah.
Please have a look at those cities:
Yeah.
Mosul, Raqqa, Idlib. Please look at those cities. They are worse than what Gaza is. They were women, children, everybody. They were carpet bombed. So when Netanyahu comes around and says you did the same thing, that's true.
No, it is. It absolutely is.
So, that's the lack of understanding which is there today. So you can still get away with killing hundreds of people.
I
It's
guess what
not
I
a problem.
meant is in millennia past, there what there wasn't a point where all of a sudden there wasn't the nuclear point where all of a sudden it's like no, but you
Yeah,
can
well,
go over the edge now. That's the point I
yeah.
was getting at is
That's yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
that's
can
true.
do a Vietnam, you can do a Korea. You can't go over the very edge because then the entire world is irradiated with cobalt. Like
No,
that's what
there's
I
nothing
mean.
left.
And
There's
there's
nothing
nothing
left.
left for it. There's nothing left to rule over. I mean, the bunkers are austere, just, a mile underground with fluorescent lights. Like
I'd
that's
I'd
what I
rather
mean.
die. I'd rather die than live in a bunker.
I think LBJ said that too. I think he said like, what's the point of this bunker? It's just a tomb.
I am not gonna. I mean, somebody offers me to sit in a bunker. That's not gonna
I
happen.
know I'm gonna stand on the surface. I don't want to no.
Yeah.
Eat MREs for 60 years. What? No, no, kill me in the flash. Kill me in the nuclear flash.
The first flash.
Yeah, so that's what I mean is like we it's just we have to figure it out or we won't exist. And it's like that's not a political statement. It just seems to be a statement of fact with weapons that can destroy the world and it could have happened twice in the length of this podcast, right? 30 minutes. The ones off the coast, it's like 4 minute travel times.
Yep.
it's just what it is. You don't have to like it. No one has to like it. It's just what it is. And yeah. So, but
It's crazy. See, the bottom line, I'd just say one thing. The politicians today in the world don't have common sense, and people with common sense aren't becoming politicians. But I guess conversations like these and many others that you can have with the rest of the world will tell you, okay, common sense still exists within the people, right? There's a sense of reality that things are changing. Nobody wants America destroyed and this and that. I mean, we in India don't want that. Yeah, you stay happy, be rich, be happy, kill it, no problem. Let us do the same thing.
yeah.
For us, for India, it's always coexistence. It's never either you or me. We don't do that. For us, it's our way of looking at things is how can we work together? On we disagree on this, and this, but we agree on this. Let's do this. Probably by this, we may remove one other misunderstanding. That's the reality, that's the realism that you're playing with today. But till the time that realism doesn't come as an understanding in the West, this nonsense that we see around the place will continue. Venezuela, Iran, it's all going to happen. It's going to continue because there is a sheer lack of understanding that the threatening and the hubris and the power and the economy doesn't work anymore. People are, everybody says, oh, India has very bad per capita income. Fantastic. Let me give you an example. A can of Coke in India is 50 Indian rupees. Okay. A can of Coke in America is
$2,
two
$3.
bucks. You know how much is $2 in India? 200 rupees. I buy 4 cans of Coke in India for that.
Yeah.
Four. So if I earn what I earn, and if you convert into dollars, obviously I'm a beggar. But at the end of it, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm still poor, but I'm not the perception of poor. Oh shit, how do these guys stay in $2,500 a year?
Yeah.
Things are much cheaper here. So yeah, that's the difference. So that understanding is not there, and that will take some time. So you find when India says it's the third largest country as far as the economy is concerned, when India says we are the second largest as far as purchasing power is concerned, people say, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, that's the reality. We have more purchasing power than 98% of the rest of the world.
If we don't coexist, then we're not going to exist. That much is pretty, it's pretty clear. But,
Yeah,
um, Audie, for right now, let's wrap this up. I appreciate your time, man. Appreciate
thank
you
you.
coming on here. Guys, go into the description. You can find his YouTube. And, yeah, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and I appreciate your time, dude.
Likewise, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. I love the picture of your dog behind you.
Thank you.
I love that. All right,
I
bro.
hope he
Audie.
blesses me. He's no more with us. So
Yeah, I got where is yeah, I got a picture of my dog. He put him down in 2020. Now I'm with you. Maybe I should put that behind me. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I keep
these
him
guys
right.
are these guys are they're like they're
My little
because of the
angel.
who they are. They are so pure in their souls. So they'll kind of keep you pure.
Yeah, that's a yeah. Dude, I still think about my dog every day. Like, I just it's yeah, no, the purity of it. Where it's like this guy's just
These
psyched
are
to see
all
you.
Indian military badges. This is the badge from the recent beating that we gave the Pakistanis. so
Hell yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it is.
that's beautiful. All right, brother. Yeah,
All right.
let's wrap this up. I'll send
Thank
this to
you.
you. Thank you so much for
Sure.
your time, Audie. Till next